Hello and welcome to Reporters. In this edition, we take you to Sudan, a country full of archaeological richness. Pyramids and tombs of the royal black pharaohs and temples that extend along the Nile. But there's a lack of protection for many of these ancient sites, and now some of those treasures are under threat. We want to welcome to the program journalist Elodie Cousin. Elodie, good to see you, and we're looking forward to your report. You've discovered that it's difficult to protect these ancient sites, no matter how precious they are.
Yes, because there are thousands of these sites in Sudan, and the vast majority of them has not yet been discovered, either because they're still buried underground or because, unfortunately, they have already been destroyed. It could have been by a farmer who needed more land to cultivate, or by schoolchildren who wanted to play football in the middle of a ruin, or simply by someone looking for some artifacts. In recent years, major efforts have been made at certain sites, for example, at Domboya or El Hassa, which you will see in this report. You have to understand that in Sudan, people can really walk around freely inside ruins, enter pyramids, or inscribe their names on the remains, and no one would stop them.
Okay, let's watch this report from Elodie Cousin, Bastien Renoy, and we'll talk some more on the other side.
The pyramids of Moroi are not as well known as those in neighboring Egypt. They house the tombs of the 40 rulers of the Kingdom of Kush. The oldest were built in 720 BC. Archaeological sites in Sudan can be found across the Nile Valley. Since the start of the 20th century, archaeologists have been trying to understand this civilization. Only 20% of remains have been discovered.
We are at the archaeological site of Domboya, and we have a satellite site of the Meroitic Empire, the oldest political structure in all of sub-Saharan Africa, which was probably a centre for worship, as well as an administration centre for collection and redistribution for the central state.
6 archaeologists supervised 30 people from villages near the site. It took 4 weeks to excavate the foundations of this building from the 1st century AD.
From what we see of it, so far, I think it's a house. And over there, it's a temple. We see it in the orientation of the entrance. If you approach, you'll see the door's in that direction.
Archaeologists say there is a large building under this hill. On their next mission, in a year, they will survey the site. They think they will find a temple, which will help evaluate the importance of the site. The mission may last a decade.
It's important to think of an archaeological excavation like a police investigation, where at each level we aim to understand the situation and put ourselves in the state of mind of the person who built the structure, or made the ceramics, or even built a tomb to bury a body.
The remains are often at risk and need to be protected for the investigation to be completed. The farmers who live around Domboya pose the greatest threat. At times, they unknowingly settle on archaeological sites. This man was hired by the archaeologists to guard the site. Today, he's speaking to the National Corporation for Antiquities inspector.
Is anything currently threatening the site? Is anyone causing any problems, or are there any issues like that?
No, thank God. People here understand that they have to accept archaeologists. This has already benefited us, and it will be even more so in the future.
These 2 men play an important role on the site. In the past, villagers would drive over the foundations of the buildings.
It is easier if it is a Sudanese person who talks to the villagers and explains to them, rather than a foreigner who might seem imposing by saying, it is an archaeological site and we are going to work here. This is the most important part of our job, and this is also what is most important to succeeding in protecting the site.
Domboya is seen as a good example for the region. Excavations have brought a financial boost to the area over the past 20 years, and generations of villagers have received training.
The best way to protect an archaeological site like this is not just barriers, it's not just protections, registration at the Land Registry Office, it's first and foremost the local communities who are in fact aware of the reason for doing this type of work and of the fact that they are reclaiming their own heritage.
The man who heads the workers also guards the site when the archaeologists are not there. His village is only a few dozen meters away. At the end of each workday, he welcomes his men for tea.
The archaeologists didn't give us any problems. They took part of the land, but the villagers accepted the situation and did not get angry. We hope that when the whole site has been excavated, tourists will come to our village.
The political situation will have to stabilize first after a coup 2 years ago. The next morning, the archaeologists prepare to go to Khartoum. We leave the site and go up the Nile, heading north. In the town of Abri, several men spontaneously join us at our hotel. They have antiquities for sale. This one says he has an interesting artifact. It is part of an offering table from the Meroetic period, usually placed in front of the tombs.
I walk around and visit the villages, and when I see a place that has been excavated, I go around and look for things. This one was already broken when I found it.
Another villager offers us a piece of pottery. Everyone thinks it's worth a lot of money.
How much do you want to sell it for?
This one, you mean? Someone bought one for 1,300 euros.
In fact, these objects are worthless, except to archaeologists who can extract valuable information from them. We managed to convince the pottery seller to take us to the tomb he's looting.
This rock was over here. I took it out with a bulldozer. The door to the tomb should be over there.
In the region, rumors have spread. These men all believe that they'll discover gold statues and make a fortune.
Inside, there are 2 rooms. If we manage to get in, we'll make millions. More than you can count. When we sell it all, we'll have more money than we can dream of. It could make up to 50 people rich.
In fact, he's about to destroy a tomb and probably won't get anything out of it. The creation of numerous gold mines in the region has led to a rush for antiquities. Miners digging the earth for the precious metal often uncover remains. Sai Island, situated in the middle of the Nile, has many sites. Some date as far back as the Paleolithic era. The villagers were recently given permission to search for gold.
Here there is a vein. This is the first one we found. Right here is the main vein. We found quite a bit of gold. But the more we dug, the less we found. But hey, we found some anyway.
They brought a backhoe loader to dig deeper. The mine is located a few hundred meters from a necropolis built in the 3rd millennium BC. The temptation was so strong, the workers destroyed everything in their path in the hope of finding gold objects. Police officers stationed nearby deny the incidents.
The destruction in the necropolis of Kerma took place a long time ago. There is nothing new here. Since we've been here, and this site is the closest to us, nothing has happened. We are always nearby.
Lack of personnel to prevent looting, complicity, nobody knows why the police did not act. It is impossible to protect the thousands of Sudanese archaeological sites, so the government is focusing on education. In Khartoum, the French team is back. Marc Maillot unpacks the treasures brought back from Domboya.
It's a floral decorative pattern, and the paint is original, so it's over 2,000 years old. There are also nice objects like these fragments of a statue, as you can see, which represents a lion's leg. Unfortunately, no. So we're not looking for the golden statuette. In fact, to be frank, it's more of a problem than anything else if you find it, because on the one hand, it must be protected first, and on the other hand, we want to avoid the problems that can be created by the presence of gold on an archaeological site, such as looting.
He has an appointment with the director of the Sudanese Antiquities Commission. Thanks to a grant from the International Alliance for the Protection of Heritage in Conflict Zones, they have developed an educational project to explain to children that their remains should not be destroyed.
The idea is that we print 20,000 copies of this comic, which is translated into Arabic and English for distribution in schools across the country. You see, for example, there we used a reproduction of a Meroitic city. We showed them a pottery workshop.
I believe that this will change a lot of things, especially the mentality of the children.
Hatim El Noor takes us to the National Museum's vault, where they keep the most important pieces found during archaeological expeditions. There are some from all eras. One of them in particular attracts our attention.
This is a piece of sandstone. It's a square shape. It's an offering table.
It looks a lot like the one the treasure hunter tried to sell us. We show him the pictures.
In fact, it's a real fragment. I feel shame when I see our people destroy their heritage and their culture. That means we lost big information about this history. Unfortunately, the law here is not strong. What does it mean of 3 months in the prison? What does it mean of the fine of 2,000 Sudanese pounds? It's nothing.
Behind the doors of the vault is the main room of the National Museum.
As you see, all the veterans are empty because all the pieces evacuated, because the National Museum, Sudan National Museum, under the renovation.
Visitors will be able to come back in 2 years. The aim is to welcome school children from all over Sudan.
I'm full of optimism because all the robbers, are very simple people according to the economic situation. They follow this shortcut, looking for the gold. But we are going to stop them not by force, but by let them know about the importance of this valuable material.
Other regional museums are due to open all over the country. Sudanese archaeologists want to act as quickly as possible, but the economic and political situation is holding them back. They're now hoping for stability so that they can carry out the many projects that will allow them to save their heritage.
And we're back now with Elodie Cousin. Elodie, as we just saw in your report, there are many grave robbers in spite of the fact they don't gain much financially. Why is that?
Well, many of them are young people who work in gold mines looking to earn some extra money with their mining tools. So they come and dig at night. It requires a lot of hard work, yet the findings are small. But the rumors are very strong, and they have nothing to lose. So when somebody says things like, I heard this and that, or I know someone who managed to sell a piece of pottery for 10,000 euros, they really want to believe that. But as we saw in the report, the grave robber we followed explained to us that it takes 15 days to uncover a tomb using a backhoe, and in the end, they found nothing, or in any case, nothing of value.
Now, there are grave robbers who destroy these sites, but they're not the only ones responsible for the damage. And we can see in a photo here that you took of the Moroi pyramids. Can you tell us what happened here?
Indeed, the first treasure hunters were Europeans. The most famous was the Italian Giuseppe Fallini, an army deserter who destroyed around 40 pyramids at Moroi in the 1830s, when those pyramids had just been discovered. He looked for pieces of gold and silver jewelry, which are today on display in museums in Munich and Berlin. His only ambition, like many Sudanese pillagers today, was to become very rich, whatever the consequences.
Now, at the end of the report, you talk about the political and economic crises in the country. Concretely, what is the impact of these crises on the culture of Sudan, and in particular, archaeology?
Well, the country is in the middle of a transition 2 years after the fall of Omar al-Bashir. It's an immense work in progress. But the everyday life of ordinary Sudanese is all about queuing up for hours to buy fuel, to find cooking gas, or fight against inflation. It's not really about discovering and protecting their cultural heritage. The government has charged Atim al-Noor with this mission, as you saw at the end of our report. His first mission is to draw up an archaeological map of the country. With the lifting of US-imposed economic sanctions a few months ago, he's hoping to secure funding to fight against pillagers or to protect against natural disasters. But that will take time. So he's focusing first on educating people to make them understand that those ruins are more valuable when they're on display in Sudan to try and attract tourists, rather than destroying them through ignorance or trying to sell pieces abroad.
Okay, Elodie Cousin, thanks so much for your report. And that's it for this edition. If you'd like to see this or past editions of Reporters, just log on to our website, france24.com/en. Thanks for watching and stay with us here on France 24.